try to give him tough love, but like, God, you just never see the OD.
Rick Harrison's son. Just those words can catch your attention, especially if you know who Rick Harrison is. He's been a familiar face on television for years. People know him from the show Pawn Stars, where he seems calm, smart, and always in control. But when the focus shifts from Rick himself to his son, it feels different. It makes you pause and wonder, why is his son speaking now? What made him come forward? And what does he know that the rest of the world doesn't? When a celebrity's child speaks publicly, especially about something serious, it usually means that the situation has become personal, maybe even dangerous. Most of the time, families of famous people stay quiet, especially when something bad happens. They don't want attention. They stay in the background. So when Rick Harrison's son decides to speak out, it raises questions. Something big must be going on. It quotes son not just that he's talking, it's why he's talking. People don't just wake up one day and decide to break their silence unless they have a reason. Maybe he's been holding it in for a long time. Maybe he didn't want to bring attention to his family. Maybe he was scared. But now something has changed and it feels like he can't stay quiet anymore. It quotes son, a deep emotional pull when a son speaks about his father. No matter who you are, rich or poor, famous or unknown, the bond between a father and a son means something. When that bond is shaken by fear, danger, or even death, it makes the story more powerful. It's not just news anymore. It's human. It's real. And people want to know more. If you hear Rick Harrison's son, your mind naturally wonders, what is he going to say? Is it something we didn't know before? Is it something Rick never wanted people to find out? The curiosity builds because this isn't just any son speaking out. This is someone who has lived with Rick, known him in ways no fan ever could. He's seen behind the cameras. He's seen the man as a father, not just as a TV star. That makes his words feel more real. He's not a reporter. He's not someone trying to get views or followers. He's a son. And that changes everything. There's a sense that he's telling the truth, or at least his truth. And that makes people lean in and listen more closely. People also start thinking about their own families. What if it was my dad? What if I had to speak out to protect him? What if I was afraid for him and no one else knew what he was going through? That kind of thinking makes the story feel closer, more personal. It turns a headline into something emotional. When you say Rick Harrison's son, it also gives the feeling that something is being passed down, not just a story but maybe a warning. Maybe a plea for help. Maybe even a last chance to let the world know what's really happening. That adds a kind of weight to the moment. It feels urgent. You start to wonder what kind of relationship they have. Are they close? Have they had problems in the past? Is this the first time he's ever spoken about Rick in public? The fact that it's happening now when Rick is in trouble makes you feel like this isn't just random. It's planned. It's necessary. And there must be something big behind it. The way the words are used, Rick Harrison's son, feels very intentional. It's not just a family member. It's his son. The choice to use that phrase reminds people of who Rick is, but also adds a new layer. It's not just Rick anymore. It's his family. It's his legacy. And if something happens to Rick in prison, it's not just about him. It's about the people he leaves behind. That makes you think of all the things Rick has done. He's not just a reality star. He's a business owner. A father. A man who's built a life for his family. If that life is in danger now and the one person brave enough to speak up is his son, that means something. It shows love. It shows fear. It shows a family trying to hold on when things are falling apart. Even if you don't know much about Rick Harrison, hearing that his son is the one telling the story makes it interesting. It makes it real. It makes you want to know more. What is he going to say? Is it something shocking? Is it heartbreaking? Is it something that could change how people see Rick forever? All of those questions start from just a few simple words: Rick Harrison's son. That's the power of a good hook. It doesn't give everything away, it doesn't explain too much. It just opens the door enough for you to want to step inside and learn more. This part of the title is where the story begins. It invites curiosity but also emotion. And that's what keeps people watching, reading, or listening. They want answers. They want to know what the son knows, and maybe, just maybe, they want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than just a news story. Something human, something real, something that could happen to anyone. When someone breaks their silence, it means they've been quiet for a long time. They've held something inside. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they didn't want to cause problems. Maybe they weren't ready. But now they are. And that moment when someone finally decides to speak can be powerful. It can change everything. In this case, it's Rick Harrison's son who is breaking his silence. That tells us this is serious. It's not just a quick comment or a small update. It's something deeper. Something that he's been carrying for a while. You can feel it. Something is building up. And now he can't keep it to himself anymore. That makes people curious. Why was he silent in the first place? What was he holding back? What made him stay quiet all this time? And more importantly, what made him speak now? It's not easy to break your silence, especially about family. There's always pressure. Pressure to protect the people you love. Pressure to stay loyal. Pressure to keep things private. So when someone finally speaks out, it usually means they've reached a breaking point. Maybe something happened that they can't ignore anymore. Maybe they saw something too dangerous or too painful. Maybe they feel like if they don't speak now, it might be too late. That adds tension to the story. It makes the audience lean in and listen more carefully. They want to hear every word, every detail, every truth that was kept hidden. The words "break silence" also suggest that this person has something important to say. Not just a random opinion or a small update, but something that really matters. Maybe even something shocking. It raises the stakes. It tells people this isn't just another story. This is a moment where truth is coming out, and once it's out, nothing will be the same again. Their quote's also a mystery here. What exactly is he going to reveal? Is it about something that happened to Rick in prison? Is it something the public doesn't know? Could it be something that Rick never wanted anyone to find out? That kind of suspense grabs people. It makes them want to know more. And think about this. Rick Harrison is a public figure. People think they know him because they've seen him on TV for years. But television only shows what it wants to show. The real story is often hidden. The silence holds the truth. And when his son breaks that silence, it opens the door to a whole different side of the story. The part that no one saw coming. Another reason the phrase "break silence" is so strong is because it makes the moment feel big. It feels like a turning point. Before this there was quiet. Now there's a voice. And not just any voice. It's the voice of someone close to Rick. Someone who knows him beyond the cameras, the lights, and the fame. This moment also creates an emotional pull. People understand what silence feels like. Everyone has had moments where they wanted to say something but held back. So when someone finally speaks, it's not just about facts, it's about feelings. Pain. Fear. Maybe even love. That's what makes this kind of story connect with people on a deeper level. It also adds a little bit of danger. Because when someone breaks their silence, not everyone is happy about it. There's often backlash. Some people might say, "Why are you speaking now?" Others might try to stop the truth from coming out. So you start to wonder, is Rick's son taking a risk by saying this? Could he be putting himself in danger just to tell the world what's really happening? That idea brings even more curiosity. Because now it's not just about what's being said, it's about why it's being said, and what might happen next. It's the kind of story that keeps people watching, reading, thinking. They want to know what comes after. What doors will this open? What secrets will be revealed? There's also the feeling that once this silence is broken, there's no going back. You can't unspeak something. Once the truth is out, people react. The media reacts. Fans react. And sometimes even the people closest to you react in ways you don't expect. So breaking your silence takes courage. It takes strength. And that's another reason this moment stands out. You also start to imagine the emotions behind the scenes. How many nights did Rick's son stay up thinking about this? How many times did he write a message and then delete it? How many times did he stop himself from talking, until finally he couldn't anymore? Maybe he saw his father struggling. Maybe he saw something wrong happening in prison. Maybe he felt like no one else was going to speak up. So he had to. That kind of choice is heavy. And the fact that he made it tells us there's more going on than we know. The phrase "break silence" also makes the story feel like a confession. Like he's been holding back for too long and finally has to let it out. People are drawn to confessions. They want to hear the truth. Especially when it's emotional or dramatic. They want to feel like they're hearing something raw and real. So when you read that Rick Harrison's son is breaking his silence, it's not just a statement, it's an invitation. It invites you into the story. It says, "Come closer." You're about to hear something important, and deep down, people want to believe that silence always ends with truth. That the moment someone speaks, the world will finally understand what's really going on. That maybe justice will be done. Or at least the truth will be known. That quote solves why this moment matters. That's why it holds power. It's not just about the words, it's about the reason behind them. The timing. The risk, the emotion. It's about what silence means. And what it means to finally break it. The words on prison change the whole feeling of the sentence. Until now, it's about a son and his silence. Something personal and emotional. But once the word prison enters, everything becomes more serious, more dangerous, and more real. It's no longer just a story about feelings. It becomes a story about survival, justice, and fear. Prison is a word that carries weight. It's not something people take lightly. When someone you know, especially someone famous like Rick Harrison, is suddenly connected to prison, it creates instant shock. People think, wait, Rick Harrison, in prison. That thought alone makes you stop and pay attention. You start to wonder how this happened, what went wrong, and what life must be like for him now. The truth is, most people don't know what really happens inside prison. They have ideas from movies or TV shows, but real prison life is much harder, colder, and more dangerous than most people realize. So when you hear that Rick Harrison's son is speaking out on prison, it makes you curious. You wonder what kind of prison life his father is facing. Is it safe? Is he being treated fairly? Is he being threatened? The questions begin to pile up. Prison is not just about being locked in a cell, it's about being in a place where time moves slowly, where you're always watching your back, where trust is rare and fear is constant. It's a place where even the strongest people can break down. So if Rick Harrison, a man known for being confident and in control, is now stuck in that kind of world, people want to know more. They want to know how he's handling it. They want to know what he's facing every day. That's where the hook really gets deeper. This is not just any prison story. It's Rick Harrison's prison story. He's not a career criminal. He's not someone people expected to see behind bars. That makes the story even more emotional, because it feels like something tragic must have happened to lead him there. Or maybe there's something unfair about why he's there in the first place. That's where curiosity really starts to grow. People want to hear the full story, and they want to hear it from someone close like his son. When you think about prison, you also think about danger. You think about the types of people in there. You think about the violence, the gangs, the fear, and then you think about Rick Harrison being in the middle of that. It doesn't match the image most people have of him. That's what creates emotional tension. You picture someone who was once surrounded by cameras, business deals, and fans now living in a place where none of that matters. A place where every day is about survival. That quote, "Some why hearing his son speak on prison is so powerful." It feels like a cry for help, like someone saying you don't know what's really going on behind those walls, but I do. It makes people want to listen, not just out of interest but out of concern. Their quote, also the thought that prison changes people. Some come out angry. Some come out broken. Some don't come out at all. So now you start to wonder, is Rick changing? Is he scared? Is he okay? What is he going through right now? Those questions stir up more curiosity, more emotion. Because now it's not just about what happened, it's about what's happening right now. When someone talks on prison, especially a family member, it feels raw. It's not a report or an article. It's real life. It's someone saying, I see what's happening and it's not okay. It also adds a layer of urgency. Maybe Rick's life is in danger. Maybe things are getting worse. And maybe if no one speaks up, no one will do anything about it. People also start thinking about the system. Is it fair? Is it broken? Did Rick deserve this? Or was he caught up in something bigger than himself? All of these thoughts come rushing in, just from two simple words, on prison. It makes the story larger than just one man. It becomes about justice, power, truth, and survival. There's also something very emotional about imagining someone's father in prison. A man who once provided for his family, who stood strong, now being watched by guards, treated like a number, living in a small cell. That image can break anyone's heart. And when it's Rick Harrison, a man so many people watched and respected, it hits even harder. The word prison also makes everything feel final. Like a line has been crossed. Like something serious happened and life won't be the same again. It raises the stakes. It makes the silence that was broken even more important. Now you're not just listening because of curiosity. You're listening because this could be a matter of life and death. You also wonder about what led to this moment. What did Rick do, or what was he accused of? Is the full story out there, or is the truth still hiding in the shadows, waiting for someone to finally tell it? That's what makes hearing his son's voice even more important. He might be the only one who can explain what's really happening, and what prison has done to his father. The curiosity keeps growing. What did the son see? What did Rick tell him? Are there letters? Phone calls? Is Rick crying on the other end of the line? Is he trying to stay strong but falling apart inside? All of those thoughts start racing through your mind because you know prison isn't just about punishment, it's about pain. And that's what makes On Prison such a strong part of this title. It's not just a place, it's a situation, a feeling, a threat. It's something that can destroy a person from the inside out. And when someone close to the prisoner finally speaks up, it means something needs to be said. And it needs to be said now. This part of the sentence pulls you in and doesn't let go. It opens the door to fear, danger, loss, and maybe even hope. Because if the truth can come out, maybe there's a chance things can change. When you hear the word threats, it immediately makes your heart race a little faster. Threats are dangerous. They carry with them the weight of fear, fear of what could happen if they're real. And when someone you care about is being threatened, that fear becomes even more intense. It's not just something happening to a stranger. It's happening to someone close, someone you know. In this case, it's Rick Harrison, a public figure. But to his son, it's his father being threatened. That makes everything feel so much closer and more personal. The fact that threats are mentioned adds an element of danger that can't be ignored. Prison is already a dangerous place, but when you hear that Rick Harrison's life is being threatened, it shifts the whole story. It's not just about being in prison, it's about being in real danger, every day, all the time. Prison threats are not the same as threats you hear on the street or in the news. In prison, threats can be very serious. They're often not just words, they can be the start of something much worse. That's why when Rick's son mentions the threats against his father, it pulls people in immediately. You want to know how serious these threats are. Who is making them? What kind of danger is Rick in? Is he being targeted by someone in particular? Or is it a general threat just because he's there? The word threat suggests a feeling of helplessness. When someone is threatened, especially in prison, there's often not much they can do. They are at the mercy of the system and the people around them. You can't just walk away from a prison threat like you could from someone on the outside. The consequences are much more severe. So hearing that Rick's life is at risk because of these threats creates a sense of urgency. It's not something that can wait, it's not something that can be ignored. And that's where the curiosity really builds. People want to know what happens next. What will Rick's son do? What is he trying to do about these threats? Does he have any power to help his father, or is he just as helpless as everyone else? The fact that these threats are being revealed by Rick's son makes them even more real. This isn't just some news report. This isn't a headline made up to grab attention. This is coming from someone who knows the situation from the inside. His son isn't just talking about what the media says. He's talking about his father's life being in danger. And when it's someone close to the person at risk, it adds a level of truth that is hard to ignore. It makes the situation feel more real, more urgent, and more scary. The curiosity starts to grow because we don't know the full story. We don't know why Rick is being threatened. We don't know who is threatening him, or what their motives are. That mystery is what keeps us wanting more. The word threats leaves so many questions unanswered. Are the threats coming from other prisoners? Are they coming from guards? Or is there something larger going on, like a power struggle? That's putting Rick's life at risk. The questions pile up and make us want to keep reading, keep listening, keep watching. Quote. It's also hard to ignore the emotional weight of a father's life being threatened. When it's your parent, you feel a need to protect them. You feel like you should be the one stepping in, doing something, anything, to keep them safe. That's what makes this so powerful. Rick's son isn't just watching the threats from a distance. He's living with them. He's the one who knows the danger. He's the one who understands what's at stake. And in many ways he's the one who feels the most helpless, because as a son, he should be able to do something. But often there's nothing he can do. When you hear about threats in prison, you also think about the power that comes with those threats. In prison, threats can mean everything. They can be the reason someone gets hurt, the reason someone ends up in the hospital, or worse. So when Rick's son talks about threats against his father, it's not just words. It's a warning. It's a sign that things could get worse before they get better. And that creates an even stronger need to know more. What kind of threats are we talking about here? Are they physical? Are they psychological? Or are they more complicated, involving things that no one could ever expect? It's easy to imagine the tension and fear that Rick must be feeling. Every day, he's living with the knowledge that his life could be taken at any moment. Every time someone looks at him or speaks to him, he must wonder if that person is a threat. Is this a friend? Or is this someone who's out to hurt him? In a prison setting, you can't trust anyone. And that's what makes the idea of threats so dangerous and powerful. They're not just threats, they're warnings. They are signs that something is coming. And it's not good. Rick quote. Son in this case is the messenger. He's the one who has the courage to speak up. But that's not easy. Telling the world that his father is in danger in prison is exposing a truth that people might not want to hear. But his decision to speak out is important. Because it's not just about Rick anymore. It's about justice. It's about protecting someone who can't protect themselves. It's about letting the world know what's really going on behind closed doors. This part of the story also adds another layer of fear. Fear of what might happen if no one steps in. When threats are made, there's always the question of what happens next. Do people act on those threats? Or do they sit back and wait for something bad to happen? The curiosity builds here, because you want to know, will Rick survive this? Will someone help him? Or is the danger too much to overcome? And then there's the worry that these threats might not just be an isolated issue. If Rick is being threatened, what about others in the prison system? Are there more people in danger who we don't know about? This opens up the possibility of a larger problem. One that might not just affect Rick, but others as well. So now the story becomes about more than just one person. It's about a system that might be broken. About people who are in danger, and about the consequences of those threats. Threats are scary. They raise the stakes. They make everything feel more dangerous, more urgent. And when those threats are real, when they're coming from places we don't fully understand, it keeps us wondering. It makes us want to know more. Who is behind these threats? Why are they happening? What is Rick's son going to do about them? Every time you think about the word threats, you can't help but feel the weight of what it means for someone's life to be in danger. And when that someone is Rick Harrison, someone you know and recognize, it hits even harder. It makes you feel like this story is more than just a headline. It's something that could affect anyone. And it leaves you thinking, what's going to happen next? When someone says that something is against someone, it immediately feels like there's a struggle, there's a fight, a battle happening. It suggests that there is some kind of conflict, and in this case it's a conflict that's very personal. It's not just about a fight between strangers. It's a fight between a son and whatever is threatening his father. The phrase "against his father" pulls at your emotions because it's a reminder that the one being hurt is someone you care about. This isn't just a story about a random person, this is about a father who is facing something dangerous and the person speaking up is his son. The word "against" makes everything feel more intense. It's not just about a difficult situation. It's about something actively working to hurt or harm Rick Harrison. When you hear that something is against someone, it automatically makes you wonder who or what is behind it. What is the threat? Is it a person, a group of people, or is it something that is larger than just one individual? The curiosity starts to grow because now it's not just about what's happening in prison, it's about who is responsible for making life difficult for Rick and what they want to achieve by doing so. The emotion behind "against his father" is powerful. You can imagine the son feeling helpless, unable to protect the one person he should be able to protect the most. The idea that someone is working against Rick, actively causing harm or trouble in his life, makes you feel for his son. It's not just a father who is struggling in prison, it's a son who is watching his father suffer and knowing that there's not much he can do about it. That feeling of powerlessness is something that many people can relate to, and it makes the story even more touching and heartbreaking. The word "against" also implies that there's some kind of injustice happening. It suggests that Rick is being unfairly attacked or hurt. Maybe he's being picked on for no reason, or maybe he's being treated differently than others. Maybe someone has a personal vendetta against him. And when someone is treated this way, it makes you question everything. Why is this happening? What is the cause? Who is doing this, and why are they doing it? These are the questions that people start asking when they hear that something is happening against someone. The more you think about it, the more curious you become. Who would want to hurt Rick, and what could they possibly gain from it? It's also important to realize that when something is against someone, it's often not a one-time thing. It's a pattern. It's something that continues to happen over and over again. That idea makes you worry about what Rick might be going through in prison. Is this something he's facing every day? Are there people constantly targeting him, making his life more difficult and making it harder for him to survive in a place like that? This continuous threat makes you want to know more. It adds a layer of tension and danger. If someone is working against Rick, it's not just an isolated event. It's something that is building up, something that might get worse if nothing changes. The word against also creates a sense of injustice because when something is happening to someone that's unfair or harmful, it makes you want to step in and fix it. You feel like someone needs to stand up for Rick to make sure that he's not just another victim. That's what makes the son's decision to speak out even more powerful. He's not just watching his father suffer in silence. He's taking a stand. He's saying that what's happening to his father isn't okay, and that people need to hear the truth. It's a bold move. It's not easy to speak up, especially when you know the danger it can cause. But the son feels like there's no choice. If no one speaks up, nothing will change. This idea of something being against someone also stirs up a sense of fight. When you know someone is facing opposition, you want to see them stand tall, rise above it, and find a way to win. But prison is a place where winning is hard. It's not like fighting a battle on the outside where you have more control. In prison, the rules are different. The power dynamics are different. And that's what makes the story even more gripping. You want to know how Rick is handling this. How is he fighting back against what's happening to him? What is he doing to survive this battle that feels so unfair? The curiosity keeps growing because you want to know if he can make it through, or if the odds are stacked too high. And then there's the fact that it's a father who is at the center of this battle. Rick is not just any prisoner. He's a father, a man with family, a person who has relationships outside of prison. His son is speaking out because he sees the injustice, and because he loves his father. That love creates a deeper emotional connection to the story. It's not just a fight for survival, it's a fight for dignity, for respect, and for justice. The son wants the world to know that his father deserves better. He wants people to understand that Rick is a person with rights, and that what's happening to him isn't just a random prison incident, it's something that shouldn't be allowed to happen to anyone. The tension in this part of the story builds because of the word against. It makes everything feel like there's an ongoing war, a battle that is being fought not just physically, but emotionally and mentally as well. Prison is hard enough on its own. But when you add the fact that there are people actively working against you, it makes the whole situation even worse. It's not just about surviving the environment, it's about surviving people who want to make your life more difficult. That's what makes the story feel like it's heading towards something big. Something has to change. Something has to happen to stop the harm that's being caused. When you hear the words against his father, it's impossible not to think about what's at stake. This isn't just about prison, it's about everything Rick has worked for. It's about his life, his family, and his future. And now it's in the hands of those who are fighting against him. The son's voice becomes a call for help. It's a plea for the world to understand the truth and to stop letting something unjust happen. He's speaking for his father because his father can't speak up for himself in the same way. And that's what makes the story so important. It's a chance to make things right, a chance to bring justice to a situation that is anything but fair. The word against gives the story a sense of urgency. It's not just something that can be put off or ignored. It's happening now, it's real, and if no one steps in, things could get much worse for Rick. That's the hook that keeps people reading, keeps them engaged. They want to know what will happen next. They want to know how Rick will fight back against the people working against him, and whether he will survive the dangers he faces every day in prison. When you hear that someone's life is in danger, everything changes. The mood shifts. It stops being a normal situation and becomes something that holds a lot more weight. Life is precious, it's fragile. So when you hear that someone's life is in danger, especially when it's someone you know, it makes you stop and think. This is the reality that Rick Harrison is facing. His life in prison isn't just about being locked away. It's not just about being in a tough environment, it's about the fact that every day his life is at risk. And that changes everything. The first thing that comes to mind when you hear that someone's life is in danger is the fear of the unknown. What does that mean? How serious is it? Who is threatening Rick's life, and what are they willing to do? These are the kinds of questions that flood your mind when you hear those words. The idea that Rick is living with the constant fear that his life could end at any moment is terrifying. Prison is already a dangerous place. But to know that someone's life is being targeted, specifically, adds a whole new level of fear. It's not just about surviving the harsh conditions, it's about surviving others who want to hurt you. The fear that comes with life being in danger is something that can't be ignored. Every moment becomes more precious, every decision is weighed against the possibility that it could be your last. And that's the kind of environment Rick is living in. The constant threat to his life must be a heavy burden every time someone looks at him. Every time someone talks to him, there must be that thought in the back of his mind, is this the moment? Is this the person who will try to hurt me? This kind of danger is always present, always lurking, and it creates a feeling of unease that doesn't go away. It makes you want to know more about what's happening. Who is targeting Rick? Why is his life in danger? These questions lead to more and more curiosity. The situation feels bigger than just a few threats. It feels like it could spiral out of control at any moment. When you hear that someone's life is in danger, you also start to think about what that means for the people who care about them. Rick's son, who is speaking up about this, must be feeling a sense of helplessness. There's not much he can do to protect his father from the dangers of prison. He can't be there every moment, making sure his father is safe. All he can do is talk about it, raise awareness, and hope that someone will step in to help. But even with all the support in the world, the reality is that Rick's life is still in constant danger. This creates an emotional weight that pulls at your heartstrings. You feel for the son who is powerless to stop the threats against his father, and you feel for Rick, who is trapped in a system that doesn't seem to care about his well-being. This constant threat to Rick's life creates a deep sense of uncertainty. You never know when something might happen. Every day could be the day that things go wrong. You wonder how Rick is coping with this fear. How is he dealing with the knowledge that his life could end at any time? How does someone live with that kind of fear, day in and day out? The more you think about it, the more you realize how hard it must be for Rick to find peace in such an environment. It's not just about surviving the physical dangers of prison, it's about surviving the mental toll of living with constant fear. The idea of someone's life being in danger also creates a sense of urgency. When you know that someone's life is at risk, you want something to be done about it. You want to know what actions are being taken to protect them. Is there a plan to keep Rick safe? Is anyone stepping in to make sure that these threats don't become a reality? These questions fuel your curiosity. They make you want to dig deeper into the situation and find out what's really going on. You want to know if anyone is taking this seriously, if anyone is going to help Rick before it's too late. The danger to Rick's life also brings up questions of justice. Why is Rick being targeted? What has he done to deserve this kind of treatment? Is there something about his past or his current situation that makes him a target, or is it just the nature of the prison system that makes people vulnerable to these kinds of threats? The more you think about it, the more you start to realize that this isn't just about Rick. It's about the larger system that is putting him in harm's way. The fact that he's in a place where threats against his life are common speaks to a bigger problem. And this makes you wonder, how many other people are facing the same dangers in prison? How many lives are at risk because of the broken system that allows these threats to go unchallenged? When someone's life is in danger, there's always the possibility that things will get worse before they get better. Rick's situation isn't just a momentary threat, it's a constant risk. That means that the more time he spends in prison, the more likely it is that something could happen to him. The fact that his life is in danger isn't something that will just go away. It's something that could escalate. It's a ticking clock, and with each passing day, the risk increases. This creates a sense of urgency in the story. You start to feel like something needs to be done right now, before it's too late. You want to know if there's a way to prevent these threats from becoming a reality. You want to know if anyone will step in and protect Rick before the worst happens. The idea that Rick's life is in danger also brings out a sense of helplessness. There's only so much that can be done from the outside. The system is difficult to change, and the reality of prison makes it hard to protect people who are being targeted. You can only hope that someone inside the system will take action to protect him. But hope isn't always enough, especially when dealing with a dangerous and unpredictable environment like prison. This feeling of helplessness makes you want to keep reading, keep watching, keep following the story, because you want to know if Rick will survive. You want to know if there's a way for him to get out of this situation alive. The hook here is clear: Rick's life is at risk, and that makes everything else seem less important. It doesn't matter what else is going on in the world, when someone's life is in danger, that's all that matters. You want to know what's going to happen next. You want to know how Rick will survive this threat to his life, and whether he will make it through the danger that is constantly surrounding him. The curiosity builds as you wonder if someone will step in to help, or if Rick will have to face this danger on his own. His life is on the line, and that makes you care about the story in a way that nothing else could. You want to find out what happens next, and you hope that Rick will find a way to survive the danger that surrounds him.